In this video, I want to talk about how you can recognize passive, aggressive, and assertive behaviors. We're going to talk about how you can recognize passive, aggressive, and assertive behaviors, and we'll look at 4 modes through which you can recognize them. We can look at the words that people use, the vocal or speech patterns that they deliver those words with, the facial expressions that they have, and of course their posture and gesture and general body language. But before we do that, I just want to say a little bit about passive aggressive behaviors. These are by far the hardest to spot, and the way you spot them is when you see mixed messages, elements of passive and elements of aggressive sitting next to each other, and some assertive behaviors as well, because of course part of passive aggressive behaviors is trying to hide the behavior and not take responsibility for your emotional state and your attempt sometimes to manipulate people. And passive aggressive behaviors can be manipulative and deceitful, and therefore they can hide behind what is apparently assertive behavior. And really and truly, what you're most likely to do is to hear assertive language but delivered with perhaps a slightly aggressive vocal tone, or perhaps a passive gesture supported by a slightly aggressive facial expression. It's those mismatches that will indicate passive aggressive behavior. There's no easy way to categorize it, so that's why that appears to be missing from what are really and truly going to be a set of tables to help you identify passive, aggressive, and assertive behaviors. So let's get into it, and we're going to start with the kinds of words people use. So let's look at the kind of words that indicate a passive kind of frame of mind. And these are hesitant sort of words like perhaps, maybe, and requests framed as could you, maybe. You'll also get somewhat submissive confirmations like okay, if you say so, all right, rather than strong, confident yes and no. The kinds of words you'll hear with aggressive behaviors are often either criticism and critical language, or very direct instructions like do and don't, and you must and you will. You might also get implied threats like if you do this, or if you don't do that. So what kind of words and language can we expect if someone is genuinely being assertive? Everything is direct, but not so direct it's blunt. Requests are framed as will you or would you. Clear answers are indicated by a yes and a no. And the speaker will take responsibility using the word I, but also being direct and using the word you, and you'll also hear the word we to be inclusive, respectful of both sides. And finally, a very clear sign of assertive behavior is patience and courtesy, and therefore in terms of the words, you can expect politeness, please, and thank you. So what about the way we use our voice and our speech patterns? Well, not surprisingly, passive behavior is betrayed by hesitancy and quiet speaking. Often it can be breathy and even high-pitched, because when we run out of breath, our voice rises to its higher registers. It can also be quite monotone, because there's not a lot of energy or enthusiasm behind someone who is being passive at that time. And also, you might get a lot of throat clearing because the voice dries up when you're nervous. Aggressive behavior might also have some strong throat clearing because you're preparing to say something. Often, you'll hear the voice rise up in volume to be louder and more commanding. It can be abrupt and strident, often carrying strong emotional content. And because aggressive behaviour wants to get things done, it can speed up. And consequently, when it speeds up, it can also rise a little in tone as well. So assertive vocal patterns are the ones which sound more deep, more resonant, because as we relax, we fill our lungs with air and our voice settles to its lowest natural register. It sounds strong, it sounds confident, but it isn't necessarily loud. It's just clear and direct. It's fluent, it's steady, it's animated, and yet still even. So the way that animation comes in is with emphasis and pauses. Because when we're being assertive, we are in control, and therefore we can structure the way we speak to give it maximum impact. Now let's look at facial expressions. What can we expect in someone who is in a passive frame of mind? Well, we can expect evasive, not looking directly at the other person, perhaps looking down, perhaps looking at our feet. We get that kind of false smile that isn't there in the eyes, where a true smile lives. Ultimately, passive behaviour is not consistent with eye contact. On the other hand, aggressive behaviour likes to make direct eye contact and perhaps even stare you down as a sign of dominance. You might see chin jutting or a clenched jaw that indicates tension and strength, but not real strength, the strength of will that feels frustrated and wants to get things done. And also, because there are strong emotions, you might see frowning or scowling, clenching of teeth and pursing of lips. But of course, assertive facial expressions are relaxed. Proper, genuine smiles that you can see in the eyes. Everything about the face is animated and alive. So what about passive body language and gesture? Well, of course, the first thing we see is the body collapses in on itself and slouches. Sometimes when we're feeling passive, we don't want to be too close to other people, so we step back. And we close in our body and clasp ourselves, self-touching, in terms of holding our wrists, perhaps even hugging ourselves, touching our face, our neck, our collar, our jewellery, our cuffs, even holding the tops of our legs. All of that indicates nervousness and submissive behaviour. The other things you might see with submissive behaviour are fidgeting and jitteriness and asymmetry as well. All of those things suggest a person that's not completely comfortable in their own skin at that time. Neither, too, genuinely, is someone who is being aggressive. But their body language is very different. It's very stiff, very rigid, very tight. We see fists clench and jaws clench. We see the pointy, stabby finger or thumb that suggests that they want to blame or accuse. Aggressive behaviour wants to make the person look more powerful, so they will make themselves look bigger. Often you'll see hands on hips and shoulders stretched across. When moving, aggressive behaviour strides purposefully. And if you challenge the aggressive behaviour, you'll get a defensive response. But that's not the way of assertive behaviour. Assertive behaviour has open body language, symmetrical body language. Often the palms are up to demonstrate openness or down to demonstrate control. Try it for yourselves. Try holding your palms up. Doesn't it feel like you're showing that you are not a threat to the other person? And now put your palms down and move them downwards a little bit. Doesn't that feel a little bit like you're taking control in an appropriate manner? You'll see assertive people upright, head up, square on to the person they're addressing, and relaxed and comfortable in their own body. So there we have a summary of passive, aggressive and assertive behaviors, both in the words we say, the way we use our voice, our expressions and our gestures and postures. Please do give us a thumbs up if you like this video. There's lots more great content to come from Management Courses, so please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime, keep learning.